Kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News with Sunita Torrance. Kia ora, Sunita.
Big Hairy Coco. Hi.
Yeah, you should. Why aren't you? Do you call it costume when you're in drag? What is the a proper verb describing
Just in
word?
drag. Yeah. So currently I'd call myself being in boy because usually it's a boy who's a drag queen. And so, yeah.
Right. Are you a drag king officially?
No.
Like Willie Smackintish? Is that who it is?
Yeah, I dabbled in it. I did because I do lots of theatre and stuff like that. I ended up going to see We Will Rock You as Freddie Mercury, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
But no, I prefer doing Queen.
Yeah. Nice. Hey, well, Chewy's got a work commitment tonight. So it's us to start the show. Later on in the show, for the punters who are watching, I've got a pre-recorded conversation from today with Kieran McAnulty. Kieran's put up a bit of fuss in Parliament over the last couple of days about what's happening with Māori Wards, and he's pretty grumpy about it for obvious reasons. So we have a bit of a chat about that and some other bits and bobs later as we go. But you're going to kind of start the show with us, Sunita, and that's how we're going to get into it. It's a bit of fun.
Awesome.
Well, before we do that, though, oh gosh, I'm not quite ready yet. Let me say thank you to all of our lovely patrons who are on board to be a part of what we do. If you are a patron, you're beautiful. And if you're not a patron, you can become 7% more beautiful by becoming a patron. That's kind of how it works. So thanks to all of those people who help us do what we do. Patreon.com/Big Hairy News. You can see that because it was a pre-recorded show, the patrons have had an early access to the Kieran McAnulty conversation that I had this afternoon. There's going to be a meetup this weekend, patrons. So if you want to come and have a chat online, probably 11 a.m. Saturday morning, we're going to do a meetup. And a bunch of other things as well. So thank you if you're on board. If you enjoy what we do, if you want to help us, if you want to support us, patreon.com/Big Hairy News is how you do that. Right. Often, Sunita, when we start the show, we'd have like a bit of a quick chat, or we'd have a bit of a look at a quick YouTube video that I found. Like I found one yesterday where a man was on one side of the fence playing a drum with an elephant on the other side of the fence. So the man would hit the drum and the elephant would hit the drum. Go like that. I thought what I'd show you guys tonight, and some of you would have seen this because it's been going around the internet as our kind of beginning bit of a laugh, is Chelsea Handler's response to JD Vance. If you haven't seen this yet, if you're aware of JD Vance and he wants to be, well he is, Donald Trump's running mate, this is Chelsea Handler's response to him and his conversation around calling all women who don't have children childless, cat women, cat ladies or something like that. This is what she said to him, and it's devastating.
Oh, hey! As you might have heard, Donald Trump's running mate and future star of his own Dateline episode, J.D. Vance, is ruffling quite a few feathers this week.
We're effectively run in this country by a bunch of childless cat ladies who look at Kamala Harris. The entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children.
Listen up, you wingnut elegy. This country is still controlled by men in systems that were set up by men that are carefully crafted to continue to benefit men. So, to put it in women-hating terms, you'll understand you're being hysterical. But let's be clear, there's no correlation between childless people and the presidency. For example, our very first United States president, Mr. George Washington, didn't have children. In fact, he had 2 stepchildren. That's right, just like someone else I know. And to your point about Kamala not being fit because she's not a mother, I'd like to remind you that no president in the history of the United States has ever been a mother. But maybe if she had 5 kids with 3 different men and a scandalous affair with a porn star and was convicted felon, that would be more palatable to Republican men. I mean, my God, are we tired? You sad, diet, Mountain Dew drinking, couch humping, dolphin porn aficionado, all of us childless cat and dog ladies are going to go from childless and crushing it to childless and crushing you in November. And before you tell me he didn't really fuck a couch, spare me. I grew up in New Jersey in the 80s where everyone had a couch in their basement, and I know a couch fucker when I see one. Oh, hey.
Honestly, she is everything.
Yeah, and the thing about what's happening in America is it's devastating, even though the couch thing is obviously untrue. It's stuck. Like I remember, it sounds really mean, but I remember a kid when I was at school, went from one school to another school, and he got accused because there was the rumor going around this school that he had relations with a sheep. So that's what they'd call him. And he came into this other school and straight away the rumor just followed him. So it's a horrible thing for that kid to go through. And I'm not obviously saying it, but I guess the point being, when those rumors, even if they're completely untrue, follow you, it's like perception is reality. So he's going to have that mandate, that title above him for this whole time coming up. You watch, there'll be people that, going out to his speeches and stuff, holding up pictures of couches, and there'll be all sorts of stuff going on. It's stuck. And
welcome to the disinformation train, darling.
plenty of people out there who think that Donald Trump is ruining the day he brought him on board because he's done nothing but give him trouble so far. Speaking of trouble, Sunita, welcome.
Good.
Seems that you're causing a bit of trouble around the patches at the moment. I want to play a video. We played this yesterday. I know you know what this is, but for people who aren't up to date, your company, I guess, is suing Brian Tamaki and some associates of Brian Tamaki. Just tell us exactly what, like layman's terms, what are you suing him for?
So basically, suing him for defamation, both personally for me, Sunita Torrance, and for my business partner, Daniel Lockett. We are Erica and Coco Flash. Those are our stage names. And our company, well, my company, House of Flash, has also suffered greatly due to the actions of Brian Tamaki and his church. I
felt the air quotes around that when I just kind of felt that way.
And we have suffered quite a lot in regards to cancelled shows. We no longer feel safe doing our tours and productions that we would normally be doing. And of course, Daniel/Erica has now moved permanently to the UK, which was not on the cards. He was supposed to be coming back to complete all of our tours and shows that we would normally do, and moving back to Auckland, but now he's not returning.
So there's a part of that whole spiel, there's the personal harm, but you're saying part of the case is because of the professional harm. Part of the case is because you're saying Brian Tamaki actively did someone, whether it's him or his church or his group, whatever, to harm your business. Is that fair? Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
That's sort of what I thought it was, which kind of confused me. I played this last night, but I'll play it again. When it seems that maybe he admits to doing that on video. Maybe I'm wrong, but let's just have a listen to the first kind of...
It'd be stupid to do that.
It would be stupid to do that. This is like the first 60 seconds of this. They live stream being served. I guess they're your court documents there, aren't they? Or your company's court documents. Yeah. And this is what he had to say in the first 60 seconds.
I want to show you something right now. I've just been served by this man doing his job. Look how thick this is. Now, I'm going to let you know what this is. This is a serving by drag queens who are taking me to court, and some of my church members, Destiny Church, and I want all of New Zealanders to share.
I actually like something there. Did you notice that what the text said underneath, where he said Destiny Church?
Oh no!
It doesn't say Destiny Church. You look what it says.
Let's have a look.
Because it is make believe. His thing. Have a look what it says instead of Destiny Church.
Serving by drag queens who are taking me to court, and some of my church members,
Ready? Disney Church.
I want all of New Zealanders to share this and around the world. This is the document that they have served me for a high court, suing me and my church for $2 million. These are drag queens.
Yep.
Now, why are they suing me, taking me to the high court and my church for $2 million? Because I shut their business down.
Ah.
You know what their business was?
What?
Sexualizing our children.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, I don't know the legal definition of when you're saying causing your business harm, but he seems that he's comfortable saying publicly that he shut your business down. Now, I guess I don't know, like I said, the legal ramifications. Is someone allowed to shut someone else's business down, or is this all a part of the harm as you're talking about? And has he just kind of admitted to what you're accusing him of?
Yeah, and it's not the first time that he's been proud about shutting my company and business down. Yeah. He also did it in a bit of an interview with that Israeli Australian documentary maker is making a doco about him.
Oh, the wife beater Avi Yemeni. Yeah,
Yeah,
the guy
yeah,
who's got a
yeah.
conviction for beating his wife.
Yeah,
Upstanding
awesome guy.
citizen. Yeah.
Outstanding. So basically, yeah, this is not the first time that he's admitted, but we're part of the court case is that he has caused injury and harm to the company and the business.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. You cannot do that. That's part of the whole defamation side of things as well, was that if you're causing a business or a company to be unable to operate as they would normally do so in a lawful way, then that's injury.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. And I mean, like, again, because I don't know what the legal arguments would be, because like I'm just thinking outside the box here. If I started up a business to interact with, to push down another person's business, and I was the reason that business shut, that would be okay. The line of demarcation is, when is it not okay to be the causation for someone's business to be shut down? That'll be interesting to find out. The other thing is, because we're not a culture of suing, we're not like America where everything's sue. And when we hear $2 million, we go, shit, that's a lot of money to sue for as well. Can you explain a little bit about how maybe you guys got to that? Like, that sounds like a big amount of money.
Yeah, so that's come about from what we would have made if we were still doing all of our operations and shows.
Right.
So
for how long? What would you have made for how long?
So this is for a minimum of the next 12 to 18 months, because that's how long it's going to take for it to get into the court system.
Right.
So that's how long, what is our expectations of what we are losing.
Yeah.
And that's looking to be close to $1 million in itself. In regards to, I've turned down the tours with RuPaul's Drag Race Queens in New Zealand. I have cancelled my Rocky Horror Picture Show 50th anniversary tour. We usually get hired for all sorts of things, and of course our Rainbow Storytime tours as well, of course. And just everything. I cannot guarantee the safety of my cast and crew involved because of, they've used the images of our Rocky Horror Picture Show. So they've actually used images from our adult shows in this protest. So that therefore makes those shows unsafe. Yeah. Because they are using our imagery of those and using it bad. Yeah.
Yeah. The POM 88 has said a reference is called restriction of trade. I guess that's the legalities of what we're talking about within this conversation. It sucks, eh? This is really sucky. And I mean, I grew up religiously, right? And I've done a lot of things in the religious church. And I want to say something to you. You said a really, we'll talk about this in a minute, but you said a really good example of how to interact with assholes when you went on Sean Plunkett's show. And he was yelling at you and you showed empathy to him and his attitude went whoosh. And we played it here and talked it through, and people in the chat were like, holy crap, he just changed completely. I wanted to say to you, and this isn't a set up plan, I just thought of it now, that sort of on behalf of those people who have been religious or who are religious, who aren't complete cockwombles, this dude is not representing the teachings of that dude who was around 2,000 years ago, which were love the guy upstairs and love your neighbor as yourself. That's it. So this cockwomble has got no, I mean, it's people have been saying cult. It is a cult. It's nothing to do with that religion that has huge amounts of issues with it, but at its absolute core is about loving people more often than not who are more vulnerable than you. Yeah. So I want to say to you that I'm so sorry that you've had to go through this with him. If for nothing else, he's a poor representation of what this thing is supposed to be, and he's got nothing to do with the good parts or the good elements of the thing of looking after vulnerable people and the widows and orphans and hanging out with the prostitutes and tax collectors and going on a camping trip with your 12 best mates. He's so far from all of that stuff. And so I mean, I don't know if it makes any sense, but kind of on behalf of those who have been in that world, I'm really sorry. It sucks.
Yeah. No, and And you know what? He's not what Christianity is. This is the church of Brian Tamaki. It's not a Christian church. I was brought up in the Baptist church, and that's when we moved to Destiny Church, which he denies I ever could have done, apparently.
Oh,
but,
I didn't know that. So you were a part of it.
And so I used to go irregularly. We used to go to my mother and I went to Hillsong over in Sydney. We moved to Sydney, went over to Hillsong, and every time we'd come back, we'd go to Destiny. And this is before he got the TV shows and all that sort of stuff. And then, when we went back to Sydney, that's when things started to pick up a bit more with him. We were like, not really into what he's doing now. But we were completely enthralled by him at the start. Oh, look at this young brown fellow who says shit in his sermons, like that's like so cool. And that's what drew us in. And I had dealings with that, and was invited to go to their youth programs and all that. This is when I was 20. Go to the youth programs and and then later on their women's programs and legacy and stuff like that too. But yeah, it's not the Christian way. And I've had so many churches and pastors and all sorts of beautiful people private messaging saying, we just want to let you know that we strongly support you and what you're doing. We know what you're doing isn't wrong, and we love what you do. And we're just really sorry that this person is speaking on behalf of Christianity, because it's not the way. And I'm like, I totally know. And I'm actually going to be a guest speaker at the Decult conference in Christchurch in October.
Okay.
And talking. So Peter Lynham will be there. He wrote the book.
Peter.
Yeah, so he'll be there talking a lot about it, and then I'll be on the panel in regards to disinformation and what's been going on with Destiny Church and us, sort of as a follow-up for that as well, and also possibly on the Rainbow LGBT panel as well. So yeah, it sucks that people think that that's what Christianity is, because it's not. It absolutely is not. It's cult-like behavior, in that he gets vulnerable people, draws them in, bleeds them dry, and they just believe. I've got, a best friend from primary and high school who got completely involved with Man Up after he had drug problems and things like that. They ended up absolutely screwing him over and kicking him out and all this sort of stuff, and he spiraled. And we haven't heard from him since.
Wow.
Like 6 years, no one's heard from him.
Yeah.
And it's sad. We don't know what's become of him and what he's doing and what happened after Man Up did that to him.
It's fascinating. I had no idea that you were going to just share all this. Have you shared this with anyone in the media that you're a member of?
Not necessarily. I did share that I had attended Destiny Church, and of course Hannah and Brian completely said no, she never did. I'm like, you don't need to sign up to anything, and you should go to churches to go to churches.
Because what I was going to say is it's fascinating how, and there's an alleged situation in the press today about an alleged person who's committed, sexual acts, who allegedly was a part of the Destiny Church, and he's like, no, never a part of it. And then all these photos are popping up all of the with arm around him, next to him, sort of thing. So it's interesting how he always seems to run away from people affiliated or who have been affiliated with his church, who now no longer suit his narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really quite sad, because there was also a lady who defrauded and stole money from somewhere, and she and it was put that she was a member of Destiny Church, and they pushed that away as well. So it's a history of it, definitely, of them. Once they love the controversy, but once it's actually there, they're like, no. Yeah.
As I said earlier, it sounds like a lot of money, yeah? And I think I asked you this last time with what your lawyers are saying, and I think I remember you saying they think it's a bit of a slam dunk. Is that still the feeling now? Yeah,
absolutely. He's continuing to incriminate himself. He continues to talk about us. He continues to say things about us, and that we are child groomers and all sorts of things. He's still saying it. And this is why we were silent right up from March till June when we presented it to the court and did the press conference, that's because we wanted to gather all of that. We wanted to gather all of that evidence, because now that it's all been filed, people are scrambling to delete it. They're deleting all sorts of things. There's people locking down their profiles, but we've already got it,
And he's still saying it publicly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't, and before the filing as well, and before he got served. So in between the filing and him being served his papers, I don't think he actually still thought it was happening. I think maybe he just thought it was just a bit of a hoo-ha going on, but it wasn't actually happening. So it's, he was still saying things about us in that little period of time too.
It is the classic example of a narcissist, isn't it? A narcissist will go, I'm never wrong. I won't be held. They don't literally say I won't be held accountable, but their actions are, I'm the center of the universe. Everyone else revolves around me. I'm not the one who's ever wrong. And if I'm wrong, I still get to be right. And I mean, I don't know if he is or isn't officially, but all these things, he's either a moron, right, who doesn't understand what is coming, or he's a narcissist who can't not do it, who can't not be for pardon the pun, but the Christ-like figure in his own narrative.
Yeah, that's it. It's so hard for us to deal with. Like, it's just like, oh my God. When we tried to go to NetSafe with the evidence of everything that was going on digitally, they actually told us we can't do anything with this because it is too much. They're like, can you narrow it down? I'm like, actually, no, I can't. That's too hard. Wow. So it's a slam dunk.
A couple of other texts that have come in. Mr. Arvid says, love to Sunita, you're great.
Oh, thanks.
And Peter says, I grew up watching Dame Edna specials. I doubt anybody was corrupted by Barry Humphries or any other drag performance. I mean, it could be said for things like Mrs. Doubtfire and Tootsie and all sorts of other things as well.
Everything. Bugs Bunny had drag in it. The Lion King has drag in it. It's everywhere, and it's always been a form of humorous entertainment. Yeah.
Hey, I did want to, and I said I'd circle back to this. I did want to talk to you about your conversation with Karen Plunkett. Sorry, Oliver Plunkett. Sorry, Sean Plunkett. I always get that wrong. Because I did text you after you went on it, and we did watch it here as well. If you noticed and what you think of his change in demeanor after you were gracious and kind to him.
I literally did not realize. I didn't really at the time. I didn't know until I watched it back, because it wasn't a strategy or anything like that. It was literally me going, I knew at the start of the conversation that I did want to bring up what had happened, because like I honestly did feel for the guy. I felt for him. Like, I don't know what Emily Wrights wrote and what these accusations were and all that sort of stuff, but I felt just empathy for the fact that he believes that these things were hurtful and harmful towards himself, and that's what I could relate to. So I definitely wanted him to know that I felt for that, and it was it wasn't a strategy to stop him in any way, but it kind of did for a millisecond, I guess. I was much more prepared for that interview than the first one I ever did. I understood more what he was like. So I was prepared for him to be interrupting me and not letting me answer questions that he was asking. But it goes very off the cuff. Yeah.
I don't ever expect Karen will ask me to do anything with him, but if he ever does, what I'll be saying to him is there's one condition. Every time you interrupt me, it's $100. And every time I interrupt you, it's $100. I'll pay you $100. If those terms are acceptable to you, happy to. Yeah. And I would probably expect to walk away with a couple of grand, maybe, just easy on the side.
Yeah, I mean, I've never experienced that before. I'm just like when you're a journalist, you try to draw out answers. You don't want a yes or no answer, but all of a sudden that's what he wanted. And I'm like, that's not what you need meat.
Michael Parkinson had one of the best examples ever of what to do, and he says you just wait. So someone finishes an answer, you give it a beat, and often they'll then just continue on and go a bit deeper themselves. So it's interesting. The other thing that's a bit sad about that, I don't want to talk about him anymore, but about that is that we're on this platform, this internet platform, where there's no time constraints. You know, we can talk for 10 minutes or 10 hours if we want. And I say to my guests, I mean, you know this, but I just basically ask the question and then let the person answer. If there's ever a tight timetable, like if someone says I've got 10 minutes, I'll cut in over them if I need to get to a question. But we don't like operating like that. We like to have a good long chat, and then when we're finished, and everyone's had their say. It's great.
Love it. Love it.
What's happening next? What's happening next in the saga of Brian Tamaki?
Whew, so we are still very much needing to get funds. We've got our Give a Little page. We are ultimately we want to get $130,000. That's for the legal costs. So we already got $32,000 in our previous one. That got us to the point of filing. Now it's the rest.
Right.
So we have our Give a Little page. We're at 36,000, I think, right at the moment, which is
what is
still
it? Is there? I'm just looking. I'm on your what's it called? Your. I was actually just on your page here, and I scrolled down. And I saw a couple of very attractive men there on your.
Oh, look at those hotties!
I'm talking about that.
Look,
but I was looking for a link. Where's a link to what is the?
There.
Yeah.
It should be there. Maybe. Oh my God. Well, obviously I'm failing at that side of things, but it should still definitely be there somewhere. The link, the new give a little, and it's under the story.
Here we go. I think I found it.
Brian Tamaki, I think it is.
That one?
Yeah. No,
that's the old one.
That's the old one.
Okay.
So there should, if you can click on
Let the Story Be Told.
Let the Story Be Told. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, 36,000 we're at now, which is awesome, and that's been like 4 or 5 weeks. But yeah, we are looking at getting 130,000, which I know seems a hell of a lot, but that's because we expect Brian to make it drawn out quite a lot.
So here's what we'll do, right? I don't know if you know too much about our brand that we do here called Buffer. We do a buffer brand. Long story short, I'm sorry, Whānau, I know you know the story, but I'm explaining to Sunita. As we had Professor Margaret Mutu on with us talking about issues around Māoridom, and at the end of the conversation, Chewie went, what can we do as non-Māori to help you in your fight? And she went, be a buffer. She went, stand in the gap. And she said, you can be there so that if they won't listen to us, maybe they'll listen to you. And so off the back of that, we started up this brand that we do every month called Buffer, and we do a different cause for it. So we sell hoodies and merch and T-shirts and stuff with the word Buffer on it. I'm not wearing, no, I don't have one down here. And I was planning on doing a rainbow one. So how about we do this? We'll do our next lot of rainbow Buffer, and we always donate a percentage of the profits, and we'll do it to Let the Story Be Told. So that's what we'll do.
Serious? Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. We'll totally do that. So I have this rainbow one already up my sleeve. I've already designed it. And that'll be the next one. So people, you're getting an early, I'll do it next week now, but people are getting an early look at it. We'll do Buffer for a couple of weeks, and we'll do a rainbow coloured Buffer, and we'll do it for Let the Story Be Told.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Oh,
that's all right. I mean, don't get too ahead of yourself. It's not going to be squillions of dollars, you know.
No, but it's helping to promote the whole thing too. Because I mean, I'm the ultimate buffer at the moment. You know, I'm
100%.
The straight person making the whole thing happen because, you know, I care for the community that I'm not involved with.
Yeah.
But again, that's what allyship is about. It's about taking on that fight wholeheartedly because people need it.
Yep. And look, people are on board. Brother Monk says awesome, Pat. Free Soul says cool. You know, Kiwi Skirt says great idea. You know, awesome. Great idea. It's all going in there. So, you know, so these beautiful people who are watching and listening will support it as well. That's what it's about. That's what community is, Sunita, and you're welcome to be a part of ours. Okay, so let's just stay in touch and see what's happening next. This process takes a while, the way. It's going to be a couple of years.
At least a year for it to actually get its first date. So, you know, we're hoping that in that time, you know, we get the funding going on, and we'll also be able to get Dan back over for the the end type stuff as well, because
Yep.
he needs to be here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool bananas, mate. Hey, it's so lovely to talk to you again.
You too. It's so good.
Yeah, and we'll stay in touch, and I'll email you or text you or whatever over the next 7 days, so to give you a link as to what we're doing, and
Cool.
we see what we can force our beautiful viewers and listeners to buy. We'll guilt them into buying them so we can give you some more money or something like that. We'll figure it out.
Love it. Thank you,
Cool.
guys. You're doing amazing stuff. Thank you so much
right.
to all of you.
All right, Sunita. Thanks for joining us tonight, mate.
Awesome.
We'll talk to you soon.
See you later. Bye.
That is Sunita Torrance, aka Coco Flash, and her suit against Brian Tamaki, and why. Yes, and yes, I know. Look, I didn't have the dog last night. I know some of you were very angry with me about that. Jackson, thank you for the super chat. Destiny Church is the modern day Gloriaville. And Tawhiri, who seems to be becoming our local pun expert. Brian might not be a queen, but he sure is a drag. Badumsh. Do I have a symbol? I should have a rim shot, shouldn't I? Yeah, probably don't. Anyway, well done, team. Thank you for the super chats. So yeah, so you've had a little advanced heads up about what's happening next week. We'll do a merch drop next week. The buffer gear will be rainbow gear, and the proceeds of the profits, I should say, with the percentage of the profits, will go to Let the Story Be Told. So yeah, I said at the start, but I'll say again, Chewy's not with us tonight. He's got a work commitment on, but I do have an interview, a pre-recorded interview coming up in a second with old mate Kieran McAnulty. But I thought what I'd do as well, would I do it now? I want to play you a few more of our theme tunes. We're actually having a really good time with these guys, and I feel so utterly grateful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think we've had 17 theme tunes coming in. Now, some people have sent through a couple. Honestly, I was thinking 2 or 3. So it's really cool. This is a part of this community thing we've been talking about, that people have got into this and they've sent through some really amazing stuff. Why don't I play a couple of them right now? I'll just play 30 seconds for you guys to have a listen to. And because if I wasn't going to play all of them, that'll be the end of the show. And then I'll play some more tomorrow night. Maybe you've got 24 hours because we're going to end it on the last day of this month, which is tomorrow. And then next week, we'll figure out how to then nail it down to pick up, what we're going to do. Okay, let me have a quick squiz at these. What should we do? I'm just going to pick a couple randomly. I'm not saying who they're from. I'm going to do my best not to say which ones I really like, because we don't want to poison the well, so to speak. How about this one? Here's one that someone sent through. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Sounds frenetic, that one, doesn't it? All right, let's have another one. I'm just going to play these here. I don't know who they're from. I've actually just got them numbered. Here's one. I don't think this has got lyrics either. I think it's just funky music. Cool. All right, let's do a couple more. What's this one here? I have a vision of kind of like an 80s Disney show, you know? Oh. I'm actually genuinely blown away, guys. It's just been fascinating, and I'm glad you've obviously seemed to be enjoying it as well. I do feel a bit guilty that a lot of people are going to have done a lot of work, but not see any financial gain for it. So I'm hoping that you're all pretty excited and happy just to be a part of what we're doing. I'm just going to move those 3 up to the ones I've played, or else I will forget. Let's do 2 more. Here's another one here. That one there. Oh, you got to play Sunshine. That one. Oh, I remember this one. It's one of those. James Bondy, a bit. I also think a bit. What was his name? Austin Powers in there as well. I can feel it. Okay, I'm going to pick one more. Let's do this one.
Still bearded man on a mission bright. In Aotearoa will bring the light. News that's true with no disguise. Clearing up the truth, no compromise. We're the newsmen, bold and clear.
It's unreal what you guys have done.
With our beards and brains, we'll cut through the misinformation chains. So tune in, stay tuned, don't miss. For news that's real and pure bliss. Bearded voices, strong and grand. We're here to make a stand.
Do you see what I mean? I don't. Well, when I say I don't feel guilty, I'm being silly. I don't feel actually guilty, but I feel it's very gratifying to know that we had literally a silly idea. That's what I'm going to play. Honestly, I've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I haven't played yet. So if any more come in the next 24 hours, we'll have those. And what I'll do is I'll write back to every person as well that's entered. And if they're okay, we'll definitely make some kind of folder or something somewhere that you guys can get access to actually have a listen to all of them, as long as the people who have sent them in are all right, even if they're not the winning ones. It's very cool. Any more? Oh, there's lots of messages coming through. Please no auto-tune. I like that. Yep, that's good too. Nickelback VHN, so heroic. Numero uno. Alice says, nah, Big Hero News is still number 1 on my list. Oh, that was the vocal one that we got sent through. Yep. Oh, look, everyone's just keeping on going. Yep, I like this one. I don't know when that one came, when you said this one, Mike. I like this one. And then this one. I like this one. All right. Oh, and then someone's very sure. There it is, Pat. What I'll have to do is I'll have to go back and look at the YouTube clip and find out when you guys said that to when the audio was to know which one. Oh, look, that gold. Oh, I like this one. Okay. All right. Thanks very much. Okay, we want to talk a little bit about Christopher Luxon on breakfast this morning, talking about tax cuts. I have put a request in for Barbara Edmonds. Dog, are you alive? Oh, you are. Okay. Sorry, I was just checking. For Barbara Edmonds to come and join us tomorrow night. Hopefully we will see her being the finance spokesperson for Labour, because, of course, tomorrow is the big tax cuts. And what does that actually mean? So later on in this hour, we'll have a look at Christopher Luxon on breakfast this morning talking about that. But I think what we'll do now is we'll go to a pre-recorded conversation. Look, I'm not even a professional. I should be wearing the same clothes. A pre-recorded conversation I had with Kieran McAnulty this afternoon. Kieran has been making lots of noise in the House about the Māori Wards and the fact that this government seems to want to get rid of them. So I managed to grab Kieran for 10 minutes this afternoon and we had a bit of a chat about it. I will see you live again in 10 minutes from now. And let's welcome to the show, Kieran McAnulty. Kieran, good afternoon, our time, and hello to you, sir.
Yeah, how are you getting on?
Yeah, no, getting there. There's a bit of snow supposedly forecast for the old South Island. We haven't seen it in Dunedin. I think it's up in the hills though. So fire's already going, and staying warm and having a good time.
I remember in my time in Dunedin, when it snowed, it was a pretty special occasion. So, but I also know it sort of grounds the city to a halt in some areas, isn't it?
Well, it does. It's snow in Dunedin's fun because it's around for long enough to be kind of like, oh, isn't it magical? But not too long to become a pain in the ass. Yeah, so it's kind of nice. But what does happen is because you'll get snow in the hills around Dunedin, and sometimes not down on the flats. But you might work in the flats and have to come from the hills. So because people can't get to work, they just go, everything's shut, which is a good idea. They used to kind of do schools if you needed to, here and there and here and there. But of course, the school pupils come from all over Dunedin, so you might be in the hills and not be able to get down to your flats to get to your school. So they just cancel everything else. And we just call them, everyone has a snow day. It's like a little holiday, a snow day. It's nice.
Cool.
What's not so cool, from the looks of things, is these what's happening with Māori Wards at the minute. I highlighted something from a TVNZ story. It basically says the future of Mastertons, but also other Māori wards, is up for discussion. The Māori Wards bill has had its second reading, been presented for its third reading in Parliament, and has been slammed as utterly shameful by your good self there. Tell us about Māori Wards and why this is utterly shameful.
Well, a few years ago, the situation was that a local council could decide which is the best way to establish wards for their district, and they consulted, a decision was made, and they just got on with it. But for some unknown reason, if they wanted to establish a Māori ward, they had to go through a longer process, which required more work, and they had to go to a referendum. And when we were in government, we said, well, that's not fair. It should be the same process for all wards. Why is it different for Māori? So we changed it and brought them all into the same playing field. And now this government wants to go back to the old ways.
So because all we hear about in the news is Māori wards, but there's other kinds of wards as well. We sometimes, if we're getting an honest conversation, hear people talking about rural wards, and I'm assuming that's set up for the rural sector, and that might fight on the behalf of farmers and the farming community. But those wards never seem to be in the news for discussion. Māori wards seem to be. And are there any other wards other than rural and Māori wards?
Well, there's urban wards, and so towns or cities might be split into different areas. There's also at-large wards, which just cover the whole district. Now, all of those can just be set up by the council, and then they carry on with it. But what's interesting is, could you just imagine if a Labor government proposed that in order to establish a rural ward, there had to be a referendum. And could you imagine what the National Party would say about that? There'd be an uproar. And rightly so, because it would be outrageous. The simple fact of the matter is there are fewer people living in the rural areas. And to ensure that they get a voice at the table, they establish a rural ward. And if there was a referendum, there's a very good chance that the people in town would outvote the people in the country and they wouldn't get one. That's why we don't require a referendum. But this government wants to bring one in for Māori. Exactly the same scenario will play out, is that there have been numerous councils once the rule was changed and the playing field was levelled, they brought in Māori wards. There was only a very small number, only 2, I think, before the rule was changed that were established. And it just goes to show that when it is level, councils are able to operate as they should be.
So we don't want townies making decisions on rural wards and if they should or shouldn't exist, but we're fine with non-Māori making decisions on if Māori wards should or shouldn't exist.
Well, the government are, the rest of us aren't. I think it's an absolute disgrace. I mean, it's quite clear what their motivations are, and the minister can stand there and talk about democracy all he likes. I don't think anyone really believes him. You couldn't find a more disingenuous minister than Simeon Brown, in my view. He has acted against the interests of local government ever since becoming the minister. And this is a perfect example of that. The majority of councils have indicated that they oppose what the government's doing. There's more councils that oppose this than support the repeal of water reforms. And I asked the minister in the House during the committee stage on 4 occasions what councils asked for this, and he refused to answer. Now, if he had at least one council that got in touch with him and asked for it, he would be able to give me an answer. The reason he shut up is because he knew he'd been caught out. It's quite clear they are being motivated by race. They're doing this to placate their coalition partners who we know campaigned on the basis of race, and it's a shameful day for Parliament.
Yeah, it's the exact point we made, that they're not putting up a fight for rural wards, urban wards, at-large wards. It's only for Māori wards. And it's what we've been saying, especially about David Seymour and ACT, but let's not just give him the target on this one, is when they only debate we need to make things equal based on race. None of the other areas do they want to make things equal. And when I say equal, that's got air quotes around it, by the way. Then you know that they are the ones that are race baiting and are making things about race because they don't want to make anything else, quote unquote, equal. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's the fact that things aren't now going to be equal that is so outrageous here. Is that if they really believed in things being equal, then the process for establishing a Māori ward would be exactly the same for processing any other ward. But it's not. And so you either believe in fairness or you don't. Now, if their principles were that they don't believe there should be race-based electorates or wards, then let's have that discussion. Again, we would oppose that, but they're not doing that, are they? Because they're not touching the Māori electorates. This actually isn't a discussion as to whether there should be Māori wards or not. It's about the process to establish them. The facts are there for all to see. When it's not a level playing field, they don't happen. When it is, they do. That's what they don't like, and that's what they want to change.
So if we were going to have that discussion about should there or shouldn't there be Māori wards, what's your rationale behind why they're needed?
Well, of course, Māori electorates have been a long time in the mix, very historic element to our democracy. They were established to limit the level of Māori voice in Parliament. And now they, with population changes over many generations, they were there to ensure that Māori representatives are there. You could make the argument at an academic level that with proportional representation, there's no longer a need for Māori seats. But successive, and I don't agree with that, just to be really clear, but successive governments have recognised that they play an important role. If they play an important role in Parliament, then surely to Christ they play an important role in local government. And you'd have to think, though, that if the numbers were different and it was a different situation, let's say hypothetically it was actually a Labour government that was bringing in this proposed change, what do you think the National Party's position would be? It would be in opposition to their very bill that they themselves are putting forward now. Their principles are utterly flexible, and they pick and choose when they apply them.
There's one other part about, well, there's probably numerous other parts about this, but there's one other part that I've been thinking about today. This government got themselves elected on being anti-mandate and being, you know, not wanting things centralised, allowing the areas to keep control of their warders or hospitals or universities, whatever it is. And now they're mandating how this has to go for a local body. It feels like, I know they're not centralising it from Wellington, but it feels like that they're mandating and centralising the power-making structure to now tell the regions what to do. Is there hypocrisy there?
Oh, 100%. And that's exactly what they're doing. They campaigned on getting Wellington out of local decision-making.
Yep.
And then Wellington is imposing something onto councils that they don't want. Councils themselves have called it an overreach. They're forcing councils to have to pay for the referendums. And after they reverse the water reforms and dismiss the recommendations from the future local government review, councils are cash-strapped. So this is a bill that they could do without. Yeah. And there's a really important point here, is that this was never compulsory. A local council was never required to set up a Māori ward. It was only if they and their community wanted to. So there are some councils that for whatever reason have chosen it's not right for them. And that's totally fine with me because it's their community, it's their choice. Some of them are happy with the iwi reps and the iwi prefer it to be that way, and so be it. But for them to make this out to be that this is something that's been imposed on councils by the previous government and they are reversing it back to what it was, that is not true. It is dishonest, and it ignores the facts that's there for all to see, that councils have made this choice for themselves after listening to their communities, and those choices should be respected.
Kieran McAnulty, thank you for your time.
No worries. Cheers, Pat.
Hi, back again. Sorry, I nearly forgot which button to push. So there you go, Kieran McAnulty. The part I enjoyed most of all was him going, "Surely to Christ," and all the people in the chat going, "He speaks like a real people." I agree. He speaks like a real people. Mr. Arvids has stuck through a couple of super chats. I won't let you ignore that stingy treat allegations, Pat, by Nala the treat. I think you heard her name there, moving just at the right time, stretchy stretch. And again, Slimian Brown. Okay. Nicknames for Simeon, Slimian Brown. We could do better than that. I think we can do better than that. Thanks for that, Patsy Zella. No problems at all. Yeah, I mean, Kieran is fast becoming a good mate of the show, and when they're available, they're available. I saw him having a crack at the government over it and just fired them a message, and they made their way onto us. It all kind of worked out. All right. Now, obviously, without Chewy here tonight, we probably won't go right the way through till 10:30 because only half of the conversation is happening after each clip, which is my half. Nothing else really in the chat that I'm looking at. Is there anyone else want to look at stuff? No. Yep. Always good when Kieran's on. King Kieran dropping some bars. Maybe he should do a theme song for us. Yeah. Anyway, lots of people there chatting. Be nice. I haven't had a good eye on the chat. I'm sure you're being nice to each other in there. And if they're not, look out, because Kiwi's good will get you. If you ever do want to get a hold of us, though, remember there is multiple ways you can do it. Direct contact through the email, bighairynews@gmail.com. You can, of course, use the Facebook page and send us a message. Now, some people, because DOC, right, DOC, Department of Conversation, I showed you that conversation I had last night with Martin Phillips in the podcast, because that's sort of an overarching name of this whole thing before we started. There is actually a DOC page. Don't use that if you want to talk to us about BHN stuff. Go to the BHN Facebook page, because I'm not as good at checking the messages in the DOC page as I am with the BHN page. So just stick on the BHN page. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter as well. That's an easy way to get messages through. And I think my messages are open on there. I think they are. You need to teach Nala to speak on command. We started doing that, actually. My kids come over and they typically teach her a new trick probably once a month, and she picks it up in 5 minutes. She's too smart. She's too smart. Nick says, I've been laying on my couch. Oh, don't tell JD Vance. All lights off, watching the thunder and lightning whilst listening to BHN. So nice. Oh, cool. Yeah, that does sound nice, Nick. I remember my family had a batch at Mangawhai Heads, Northland, and we went there for like 30 years. Like I started going there when I was probably 6 or 7, something like that. And mum and dad they went to 3 different batches while we were up there. Probably sold it, 7 or 8 years ago. They just became a bit old to keep on top of it. So yeah, we were probably in Mangawhai for a good 35 years. And I was going to say, I remember one night being up there and the upstairs room was just glass all across the front. And same thing, on the horizon, there was a lightning storm going on. And honestly, it went on for an hour. Because, sometimes they sort of blow through. There was something in the atmosphere. It just stayed on the horizon, stayed going the whole time. It was so amazing just to sit there in the dark, like you're saying, and watch. Okay, speaking about being in the dark, Christopher Luxon on most things. He was on breakfast this morning talking tax cuts. Let's have a look at the clip together, and then we'll wrap up for the night and move on. Christopher Luxon, Daniel Faitaua talking about tax cuts primarily on breakfast this morning.
It is a big week for New Zealand workers. So what difference?
Yeah, but is it? Is it a big week? Is it a big week? With a $12 tax cut?
Will these cuts make to families?
Well, look, this is a big week because there actually hasn't been tax relief provided to lower middle income working New Zealanders for over 14 years. And what this means is that we're actually letting New Zealanders keep more of their own money in their pocket to spend and save as they see fit. And for many people, that's going to help them with this cost of living crisis with respect to paying for the groceries, being able to help support their kids.
Are you serious, Kiwi Bird? You're getting $1? Like, this is the thing as well. I think they say the average is something like $17 or $12, which does sound like something, but then by the same amount, this government's cancelling a whole lot of stuff, like, for example, buses, for free buses or half price buses. So some people might be saving $12 or getting $12 a week in their tax cuts, but then paying $20, $30, $40 a week more for their transport. And also, if you look at rates and rents still going up, it doesn't make you any better off. So if your rent's gone up by $50 a week and they're giving you a $15 a week tax cut, you're still $35 a week worse off under this government.
Kids in some form or another being able to afford the fuel for their car and other costs that they're dealing with. And so it's, we think it's well deserved. We're really proud that we're able to deliver.
That's an interesting thing. I should go back to Kiwi Bird. Mr. Luxon says that's well deserved. Kiwi Bird, your $1 tax cut is well deserved.
94% of Kiwi households some form of tax relief, and that's really important.
I want to come back to something that your finance minister said in her budget speech, and to quote her, let me just read this. This budget is for the people whose doors I knocked on in the election campaign, who said $20 a week would be the difference between staying on top of the bills and being in overdraft.
Sorry, my bullshit nerves going off with that. I mean, I know there is a tipping point for everybody. Like, there is a tipping point where $1 more puts you into debt. But I don't believe that anybody said to the minister last year, this $20 a week is now going to finally put me in the positive. I mean, he was just talking about help you're paying for your petrol. It's like $2.80 a litre at the moment. So that'll get you another 4 litres of petrol. You know, I don't believe that. I do not believe that $20 a week is going to, you know, allow them to now live a life out of debt. I'll make sure that we get that correctly, what he said.
$1 a week would be the difference between staying on top of the bills and being in overdraft.
The difference in staying on top of the bills and being in overdraft. Yeah, so she's saying that people were telling her that with $20 a week, now I'm not going into debt, i.e. I'm not going into my overdraft anymore. I just don't believe it. Sorry, don't believe it.
But Prime Minister, for minimum wage workers, they are only $12 better off under these tax cuts. I mean, will that keep them above the bills that they're trying to pay daily?
Yeah, well, what I'd just say here, Daniel, is what we've done is we've taken the tax thresholds that have existed for a long period of time.
Notice he's not answering the question, because the question is, do you honestly believe $12 a week is going to keep people out of debt? $12 a week. So that 1 week where they have one extra bill, that $12 a week is going to keep them out of overdraft? That's what he's asking. And as you can see, as Mr. Luxon shows you the size of his hands, he's not going to answer the question.
Lifted them up because people have been being caught in higher tax brackets as they've had pay increases. At the same time, we've introduced what's called Family Boost to help offset costs associated with early childcare, which is really expensive in this country.
Hasn't answered the question yet.
Change some of the other tax credits as well. So I just encourage everybody, jump on the tax calculator and actually put in your numbers and see what you're entitled to. But coming on Wednesday, people have cash in their bank account. And I'm telling you, New Zealanders have been doing it really, really tough.
See, again, you can't have it both ways, Mr. Luxon. You can't say New Zealanders are doing it really, really tough. What the picture you're painting of how New Zealanders are doing is like, it is people are in a death spiral, like really, really tough. You can't paint it that way and then say, but $12 is going to fix it all. Because if you're only out by $12 a week, you're not doing it really, really tough. You're a bit short. You put something else on Trade Me. You're a little bit short. $12 a week is a smidge short. It's not really, really tough. So if the government's going to sell that because of Labour, people have been living really, really tough, his words again, and then give them $12 a week, you can't have it both ways. You're either a tiny bit short, so we're going to give you a tiny bit, or you're doing it really, really tough, and we're going to make it so you get a lot back so you can be out of that really, really tough situation. You cannot have it both ways.
I know people are just struggling to get through from paycheck to paycheck each and every week to be able to go through the groceries. We've got some good encouraging signs. Inflation's now down to 3.3%. Food prices have fallen for the first time in the last year, which is really good. And our plan is starting to work.
Rental prices and rates are still a sticking point.
There's lots of costs across the system, Daniel, and that's why we want to get tax relief to New Zealanders now. We also want to get inflation under control. When we do that, we can lower interest rates, we can get the economy moving, and we can keep people in employment, and that's what we're working so hard at in our government.
I don't think you answered my question, Prime Minister, so I'm just going to come back to that. Minimum wage earners, they are only $12 better off under these tax cuts. Again, I'm asking you, will this $12 keep them on top of their bills?
Well, it's a start, Daniel, isn't it? I mean, we've got to do many, many things. We're giving people tax relief, first time in 14 years, good for low and middle income working New Zealanders, designed that way to give them, benefit, which is important. At the same time, we're working hard on the causes of inflation to get inflation down, which has been our major, major problem in our economy over the last few years. It's gone from 7% down to 3.3%. Food prices have fallen for the first time. So there's lots of things that we've got to do. I
do get a bit frustrated because this is the kind of medium you have to sort of let them get the answer out because you've only got them for 7 minutes. Oh, he's showing us his hands again. But right, this is the follow up, and Daniel, bless his heart, is not pushing. So Mr. Luxon, you are saying that you think New Zealanders are doing it really, really tough. Mr. Luxon would say yes, absolutely. Mr. Luxon, do you think $12 will fix that? Because no, it won't. It's a start. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Luxon. $12 is a start. When are they going to see more than that? If this is the start, when is the end, and what will the end look like?
Rebuild the economy, to kill inflation, to lower the cost of living.
This is the reason why I wanted to know why I want an answer from you, because you're set to also get a tax cut of $20. I mean, you're better off too. And would it be fair for someone with your pay bracket, and let's be honest, you probably are a high income earner, is it fair that you're getting a better cut than someone on the minimum wage? Is that fair, I'm asking you?
Well, I'll just say to you, Daniel. Well, Daniel, I'll just say to you, this program has actually been designed to actually cap out so that actually someone like me, yes, gets $20 a week, but actually someone who's on lower middle income actually gets more than I get. That's exactly how it's been designed for lower middle income workers who are actually that squeezed middle. That's what we've done here. We've just lifted the tax brackets up and then we've capped them at the top level. So, yes, someone like me gets, I think, $20 a week, but equally, people who are on middle incomes across New Zealand are going to do better than I will. And that's how it should be. And we've designed the system as fairly as we possibly can to put the focus on lower middle income workers. I just say to you, no government in the last 14 years has offered tax relief to New Zealand citizens.
Not relevant.
Inflation has gone through the roof. They have been killed by inflation. They've been squeezed, as we've said. We've campaigned on a promise to deliver tax relief, and we're delivering it because
Yeah, but you've campaigned on a promise to deliver tax relief, and you're quote-unquote delivering it. But that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. You're looking at the books, you're giving $14 billion in tax cuts that you're having to borrow for. You're giving $3 billion back to landlords, and you're giving tax cuts. So you are emptying the storehouse, tax cuts, right? And you've got more to pay for. So your outgoings are more, and you're emptying the storehouse. And you're supposedly the party of business.
We actually think New Zealanders deserve to keep their own money in their own pocket, not give it to government. We actually believe a good government should be able to deliver frontline services, give people tax relief and grow the economy.
The next part of the conversation, they start to talk about, what are you going to do with your tax cut, Mr. Luxon? Oh, I'm going to give it to charity. And as someone's already said in the chat, does he mean his church? Maybe. It's a bit of a cop-out, that as well. Yeah, look, it's the media's not getting onto him with details. This conversation needs to go layer, right? What they're doing is getting headlines. They're asking them the headline questions. What they want to do is go to the next layer down, then the next layer down. Because I don't know how many, I really honestly don't know how many people out there $20 a week would make a difference. I mean, of course it'll make a difference, but the word I always like to put beside tax cuts is meaningful difference. Because if it's not going to make a meaningful difference, one has to ask the question, would it be better to be left in the storehouse, quote unquote storehouse, to fix up infrastructure, to pay for Dunedin's hospital, which they're talking about cutting back on, to pay for more hip operations, to pay for ways to get in front of young offenders. You know what I'm saying? All of our $20, $12 added together could do a lot more in the vault than us getting it back on an individual. I mean, what's $12 going to do for a person? Very little. For most people. Look, I know some people are going to have a crack and go, oh, it's going to be really useful for me. Sure. I believe you would be the exception and not the rule. That's what I would believe. James says on the super chat, thank you for that. Luxon never answers questions. He always sticks to his pre-packaged media team workshop slogans. I think that's pretty fair. That seems to be something he does do. Oh, it looks like Nala's waking up. Time to, no, go back to sleep. Fair enough. Time to go back to bits and pieces. It's turtles all the way down. It's turtles all the way down. Is that a saying? I don't know what that saying is. But there we go. Dun, 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 dun. I've got a massive power bill since my landlord decided to start charging me. Luxon is bankrupting Aotearoa. Everyone is going to be paying more, so much more, and for what? $20. That's gone. Yeah, I guess that's the, you know, they've fulfilled their promise of giving people a tax cut. That's what they said they would do, and they've done it. My question is, A, has it made a meaningful difference in your life? And B, would it be better to get all of those little tiny tax cuts together and fund our teachers, nurses, doctors better? Police officers, army, public servants. Would it be better for us all to put our $12 a week together and help in a bigger picture situation? That's my question. The response is, well, there hasn't been a tax cut for 14 years. And I know this is a really inappropriate thing to say like this, but that's like saying, well, there hasn't been a mass shooting for 10 years. I guess we need another one. I know it's not appropriate, that example, but just because something hasn't been around for a long time doesn't mean necessarily bringing it in is going to be a good thing. I think that's it for us tonight, guys. It's been a fun one tonight. I've enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed hanging out with Sunita. I'll try and find the design that I've already come up with for next week's buffer gear. If you've just jumped in on the live stream, you don't know what I'm talking about, we're going to do a rainbow version buffer hoodie and t-shirt next week, and we're going to help Sunita Torrance with her defamation case against Brian Tamaki. That's where a percentage of the profits will be going. Expect to see Chewy back in tomorrow night. Chewy, if you're watching, hope you're relaxed. Hope you had a good night off. Well, not night off, he was working. He had work stuff on. And other than that, we will, there you go, Kiwi Skirt. Good on you, Kiwi Skirts. Just put the, give a little in the chat. So you guys can check that out as well. And we will catch you all tomorrow night from 9 p.m.
Pick up the news.
Should I cut Chewy's name out of this?
Big heady style. Keeping it loose.
Because I mean, he wasn't here, was he?
New Zealand, where the politics play. They bring the truth every single day. Talking about the mess all over the land.
I will miss this theme song when it's gone. It was pretty special getting this sent through to us. This will be kept. This will always be like it's like our virginal piece of music for us. But if you want to be a part of that, you have to have your entries in by sort of this time tomorrow night. So we're not taking any more entries after the end of the month, and then we will next week somehow put some of them up there for us to vote on, and for everyone to have a look at.
My voice, patting you, they'll make the right choice.
All right, guys, it's been beautiful. Thank you for being with us. We will catch you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. for another edition of Big Hairy News. Thank you to Sunita for joining us tonight. Thank you to Kieran for joining us tonight. And we will be with you tomorrow night again. Chewy in store, in with us tomorrow night again. All right, guys, love you to bits. Be safe. See you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. Hooroo!